Hello and welcome to Backstage, the film and TV podcast from Sky News and your weekly insight into everything going on behind and in front of the camera. This week, yes, you might be able to hear it, Katie Spencer and I are somewhere a little bit different to usual. We are at the heart of London Film Festival.
I love how British it is that every now and then the location we're in, you keep hearing a tea trolley being moved. So if you're wondering what that noise is, it's a woman that's moving tea around downstairs.
I mean, it has to be done. It's a London Film Festival after all, so we need these sound effects. So we've been enjoying everything that London Film Festival has to offer. So this week we will be bringing you all the latest interviews and reviews with some of the biggest stars in the world, including the likes of Bill Nighy, Olivia Colman, Aubrey Plaza and Brendan Fraser. But let's start off with this year's Best Actress Oscar winner, Jessica Chastain, and her new film, The Good Nurse.
How are the girls?
They're really good, but I'm working a lot.
You still owe me for last Friday, but it can wait, really.
Oh no, I'm sorry.
No.
There's 50. Sorry about that.
Thank you.
Bye, Mom.
Love you guys. Nurse Lochran, this is Officer Braun.
Do you remember Anna Martinez?
Where'd she go? Yeah, her death. It was sudden.
Mind taking a look at this?
The insulin in her system, it's a double medication error, which is really rare.
We understand that you work with a Charlie Cullen. Could he be involved in this?
It was amazing to talk to her, to learn about her. I mean, there's the great book, Charles Graeber's book, The Good Nurse, that really kind of focuses on Charlie for most of the book. And so to be able to talk to Amy and to understand what her life was like and what she had at stake, it really helped me to realize how courageous she was and what an incredible person she is.
Yeah, I mean, she's so strong, isn't she? Because
Yeah.
I think, like many people, and particularly women, she sort of comes across as very vulnerable, but you realise she's got this massive strength underneath.
Yes, I mean, all the things that she was juggling at the time. Also, being a single mother to two girls, not having health insurance, working on a night shift, so you're not really getting proper sleep, and also at the same time needing a heart transplant. That's what we walk in with at the beginning of this film, and then realize, I mean, without giving me any spoilers away, what she then stumbles into is quite shocking.
So The Good Nurse is going to stream on Netflix on the 26th of October. Also here at London Film Festival is Bill Nighy, who is promoting his latest movie, Living.
If only to be alive for one day. But I realise that I don't know how. And I so wish to do so.
What's incredible about this film, it's a remake of a 1952 Japanese film, but it was pitched as, we should remake this film but set it in the UK and star Bill Nighy. So this film was only ever going to happen if Bill Nighy agreed to the role. So
he is the quintessential Englishman, isn't he?
It's about Mr. Williams. So even his character's name, Williams, is a reference to Bill Nighy. He's a sort of lifelong bureaucrat, and he gets diagnosed with a terminal illness and basically kind of starts living, as the title would suggest. But it's a really interesting look at kind of life back then, and also a reminder, that time is precious and we do need to be careful about how we spend it. And
everyone is saying an incredible performance from Bill Nighy as well.
Incredible.
Do we think Oscars? I mean, it's that time of the year when we now start wildly speculating.
Yes,
don't we,
my wild speculation is yes, we're going to see a Richard E. Grant-esque run at the Oscars for this. I could see Mr. Nighy going and doing all the interviews and the handshaking and having a wonderful time on a kind of on a campaign, but perhaps it won't be the performance that wins, because of course Brendan Fraser is the sort
Which
of
we'll talk
front
about later.
We'll get to that. But I got the opportunity to chat to him. He's always so lovely, and of course this was no different. Here's what he had to say. Bill, you are so great in this film. Did you know straight away when you were first approached about it? Did you know straight away you wanted to do this one?
Yeah, I did. I did. I met Kazuo Ishiguro, the Nobel Prize-winning novelist, for the first time, and it was quite daunting. And it was his suggestion that he'd wanted to transpose the Kurosawa film from Tokyo to London for a while, and then when we met, he put it together with me, which was, for me, obviously, a marvelous development. And and then he agreed to write the script. He didn't want to write the script because he said, I'm a novelist, I don't, but then he did, and it was brilliant. So everything about it. And then when Oliver Hermanos, who we'd seen his previous film, Moffy, which he shot with Jamie Ramsey, the cinematographer that made this film, and they came as a package, and they just turned out to be completely incredible. So the whole thing was very, very attractive.
And well, we just mentioned Brendan Fraser, but we should talk about that. He's on the awards trail for his performance in The Whale. And this is that movie we've been talking about for ages.
Yeah, Darren Aronofsky, who doesn't make a bad film, does he?
Well, yeah, he makes can be controversial films. And I think this is going to come with some controversy. A couple of critics, I should say, The Whale is about a very, very overweight man who's trying to reconnect with his estranged daughter.
You have to use a lot of prosthetics for Brendan Fraser. You look at, even if you just look at the trailer, it's incredible. He looks like a changed man. It's it's a hell of a role for him.
Yeah, a huge physical change as well as everything else that's going on. But like I said, possibly slightly controversial. A couple of critics. It hasn't been widely seen yet, this film, but a couple of critics have sort of suggested perhaps it is a bit fat-phobic.
Oh, really? The critics that I was reading were saying it's a little bit too saccharine and a bit too sort of twee towards the end of it. But I think it's just going to be one that people want to see out of curiosity.
Exactly that. Because of Brendan's performance. I think this is the film itself, as we're saying, people are quite mixed on, but everyone seems in agreement. Brendan's performance is one that you need to see, and one that he is likely to kind of run away with the awards for. And he's
Isn't it strange going from like The Wilderness for the last decade and to the level of attention that he has got from the film festivals, the standing ovations that he's got. I think the same here as well, wasn't it?
So very unusually, he when The Whale premiered here, he was given a massive standing ovation by the audience. It's not something that happens that often.
Not at London Film Festival, is it? We're usually quite firmly embedded into our seats. It takes a lot to move us off of our bottoms, even if we do enjoy it. Waiting for the tea.
Brendan, hi, how are you?
Well.
Massive congratulations on the film. Awards, Oscar buzz, people screaming your name. How are you kind of finding the overwhelming support for this movie and your role in it?
I feel very excited. I feel very fortunate. I feel very happy to be here in London. This is more than I ever expected.
It's well deserved as well, of course. It's a physically demanding role as well as a mental one, I'm sure. What was the sort of biggest challenge from your perspective?
Well, the biggest challenge wasn't wearing the makeup and wardrobe so much as it was performing with an ensemble cast who were wonderful, for Darren, and telling a story of tolerance, all shot in a time of COVID. So we all know what it was like to live under those conditions, but it's a film about love at the end of the day.
And we've just had World Mental Health Day. Poor Charlie is really struggling in the movie. Do we need to do more to support those that need it?
I believe so. I think we could do well also to change the patterns of speech that we use when we refer to people who live with obesity. I think that would help too.
So this seems like the perfect moment to bring in festival director Tricia Tuttle, who was in fact in the room. So give us a sense of what it was like, because like we were saying, it is very rare, isn't it, to get a standing ovation at LFF?
We don't see that very often, particularly, I can't remember the last time I've seen that at a gala screening.
A bit more British and reserved.
Definitely. People usually, like as the credits are rolling, are leaving. And what was amazing is we didn't realize Brendan was going to sit in, and he sat in, and I had a suspicion that if people realized that he was sitting there, it's such a terrific performance that they were going to be really knocked out and respond to it. So we were like standing by, but I did not expect, literally no one left the cinema, and it went on for 5 minutes. Wow. And he just brings out this love in people, and he deserves all the plaudits he gets for the performance as well too.
Incredible performance, isn't it? And he just seems like such a thoroughly nice man.
Yeah, it's great. Everything you see is absolutely genuine, and even afterwards, as you know, it took him a minute to to pull himself together because he was very touched by the response that he got from the crowd.
How is he going to cope going into Oscar season if he isn't?
I don't think he's going to toughen up. He's a a hard on his sleeve kind of human being, I think, which is why people love him.
Well, that's it, and I think people will really enjoy watching that campaign. There'll be lots of interviews and handshaking, and I think fans and
couldn't
everyone
happen
will love
to
that.
a nicer human.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, and so how is the festival going? At this point, we're sort of heading towards the end as we record this podcast. You're slightly losing your voice, which is a good sign.
That happens every year. We know we've passed halfway when I've started losing my voice. So day 8, and it's gone. I mean, I couldn't have hoped for a better festival. It's been amazing. Every night has been really special. Something different happening all over the city, but also UK-wide screenings as well too. So.
I know I probably have an appalling short-term memory, but this year seems just such an interesting mix of films that you've got. Such a good, strong year, isn't it?
It feels like that to us. So I'm glad that's that you're getting that as well too. We're really excited. I mean, we're always really interested in the breadth of cinema, documentary, fiction, artist moving image, and now of course we have XR and immersive in series as well too. But it does feel like there's so much sort of rich variety of formal but also international diversity as well too.
Great writing, great story.
Great writing. You know what I've been really pleased about as well too is how foregrounded writers have been in during this festival. So in the last couple of days we've had Samuel D. Hunter, who wrote The Whale, and Christopher Hampton, who worked on The Sun with Florian Zeller. And tonight we have Rebecca Lenkovitz, or tomorrow night we have Rebecca Lenkovitz, who wrote She Said. So it's really interesting to see how great the writing is and how directors are really sharing that spotlight with their creative collaborators as well.
It's also been a super starry one. I feel like every single day there's just been massive A-list celebrities in town. That must be very, it shows the support for the festival, the fact that, these A-listers, some of whom are working on other projects, are actually taking the time to come in, walk the carpets, for the festival.
No, it's really exciting. I mean, I think that speaks to how we've grown the festival as well too. It's an important moment to launch a film into quite often the awards season, and it really, London is such a vibrant production hub as well. Lots of people are here. This is a second home to lots of people as well, and that really, it feels like, I think a lot of talent feel like they're coming to their second home when they come here as well.
At a time when cinema is struggling, or independent cinemas and what have you, it just does bring home how important it is to actually physically be out and in a cinema.
Definitely, and I think that's something that we've been really thinking about a lot this week. I know lots of the UK have, with Edinburgh Film Festival closing, and beautiful Film House and the Belmont in Aberdeen, and I'm really aware that how precious it is and how fragile it is too. We need to get audiences to understand, remember what a pleasure it is to see a film together in a cinema.
No, we don't want to get all misty-eyed, but it is also your last LFF after a massive 10 years. And then we talked about kind of the rarity of the kind of exciting moments like Brendan Fraser's standing ovation earlier. Are there any other kind of real standout moments or kind of fun little excerpts that you would like to highlight from your tenure?
Another moment, a couple of moments I think. One, I'd say, I was deputy head of festivals, and my predecessor Claire Stewart was the director. And the day we showed Whiplash.
What a movie.
And no one had heard of Damien Chazelle, and people just went crazy. And we sort of thought that he would get that kind of response, so we did a rare thing and brought him back at the end of the screening, and it was one of those moments. But that's been like 7 or 8 years ago. And then another moment that was really special, I think, was when we had Lady Bird. And Greta Gerwig and Saoirse Ronan came back after. It was our surprise film, so no one knew what they were going to see, and they came back afterwards and had that kind of rapturous response as well too.
Oh, wow.
Those are really special, precious moments.
When you're thinking back, it's like, wow, it's become quite an important stop on the film festival circuit, hasn't it, London?
I think so. And this year we have we're launching a number of films as world premieres on Saturday. We've got Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which we're really looking forward to, and and we've also, on that same day, we've got Asif Kapadia and Akram Khan's collaboration Creature, which is a world premiere. So the festival is growing and developing as well too.
You're leaving on a high.
Yeah. I am so jumping off on a high, and that feels really great. You know, it's like I'm excited to see what new people do, and the incredible team that I work with. I mean, I'm very visible, but it takes a lot of really great people to run a festival like this, and they're going to be here still delivering the great festival.
You'll still come back.
Yeah, I am going to be sitting I've already said there's a new rule that ex-festival directors get a free pass for 10 years.
Come on, you deserve that. Well, we will let you go before your voice goes completely, but thank you so much. Aubrey Plaza next with her new film, Emily the Criminal.
Hi, I paid $400 and it was never applied to my balance. Sorry, how much interest is being added a month? How are you? I need a real job, just to like pay my loans.
Emily, yo, let me hook you up.
What's your driver license?
In the next hour, you will make $200 cash, but you will have to do something illegal. You won't be in danger, but you will be breaking the law.
Yo, you gonna pay for that?
Sorry?
Bit of a gear change. This is a sort of thriller from Aubrey Plaza, who lots of people will know from Parks and Recreation. But this is a very different role for her. She's playing, it's a really interesting film because it starts off being a film you'll recognise about a woman who can't pay her bills and is forced to turn to a life of crime, and that sort of is often the setup for a film. But what makes this quite interesting is she really leans into it. She realises she enjoys this method of making money, and perhaps it's a better way for her than going down the corporate route. So I think it's a good movie, and it's something a little bit different at the film festival.
Read in interviews with her, she now believes she's picked up skills that if it doesn't work out, she can take to a life of crime. She'll be...
What a useful party trick that is, credit card fraud. And when I caught up with Aubrey, she talked about how it was an opportunity to do something that is quite different for her. Aubrey, for you, was it like me watching it? Were you like, wow, I can't really think of a time I've seen a character quite like this before?
Yes, absolutely. When I read it, I was like, wow, this is really unique and a really different kind of character for me to play. I loved her immediately.
Yeah, is it sort of, are you kind of quite conscious when you're looking at roles to do things so you don't end up sort of doing the same thing over and over?
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, it's hard in Hollywood and the industry because people see you do one thing, and then they just want you to do it over and over again or something. So it's always hard to kind of, show people all sides of yourself. So I'm always looking to do something different. I never want to do the same thing.
So one of the many films getting a premiere at London Film Festival is My Policeman, and I'm delighted to say we're now joined by Gina McKee, who is one of the fabulous stars. It's not the world premiere, is it, Gina? Because it has already had one premiere in Toronto. So, all this is feeling kind of quite familiar now?
No, not familiar, not familiar. This is our premiere on home turf. Yeah, at the Toronto Film Festival, we had the world premiere. This is the second time that people can have an opportunity to see it Saturday here at the London Film Festival.
I mean, for you as well, this is a film that's been so talked about, we should say, because of a certain leading man that's in it, Mr. Harry Styles. Is it weird to be in a film with Harry Styles where people are just talking so much about this mega star that is cast in these films now?
Harry, it's brilliant to have Harry on board because obviously it means that it's going to reach a huge audience, which is just very special. So we're really privileged to have that access. But he's an amazing person and he's very grounded and he's really, really wonderful and special. And so,
You've worked with some huge co-stars over the years, but surely the level of attention that he receives, is it sort of next level when you kind of see how he's having to deal with?
Well, it's interesting. Harry deals with it brilliantly, genuinely impressively. And when we were at the Toronto Film Festival, there was a lot of people there to see him, a lot of young women mainly. And when he stepped out, I've never heard a sound like it, honestly. I think every dog in Toronto must have been going, ow, because this pitch of squealing was extraordinary. And it was sustained, and he's amazing the way he deals with it and communicates with people. He's just a very special person.
Give us a sense what it's like on a red carpet, because we sometimes are on the, you know, the interviewing side, but you're actually walking down, and, you know, like you say, people are very excited, and it's such a kind of starry moment. How do you kind of find it, that sort of process of premiering the film?
It's interesting because it's a work event, really, because you're having to, you know, talk to people, and so there's like a twofold element often going on. And in my case, a threefold element, because there's like this sort of out-of-body thing, thinking, wow, this is a bit odd. So it's intense and exciting, and yet at the same time you have to be very focused. So it's a funny old combination.
How has it been to get this film now in front of audiences as well? For people that won't know, explain a bit about My Policeman as well.
My Policeman is based on a book by Bethan Roberts, and it's essentially three people who meet in the 1950s in Britain, and in fact in the South Coast in Brighton in England. And they're brought together, I'm going to be cautious about what I say because I don't want to give too much away, but they're brought together by love, and they form this triangle, and they have a friendship and relationships which mark them for life. And in the 1990s, in fact in 1999, they meet again to reconcile perhaps the last 40 years.
So it's interesting for you because you're sort of sharing a character with Emma Corrin. So talk to us about that kind of collaboration. I assume you were chatting a lot about kind of how to make sure that, you know, it was authentically played the same person with her and with them and you.
So yeah, we've got the three characters. So Tom is, in the 1950s, is played by Harry, and then later by Linus Roach. And then Patrick, who's played by David Dawson, and then later by Rupert Everett. And then, as you mentioned, Emma Corrin plays the young Marion, and I play her in the 1999 version. And we shot this film in 2021, so pandemic was still a huge issue in terms of dealing with COVID. And so we were being very cautious. We had lots of criteria at work about what we could and couldn't do. And so we only ever met on Zoom initially, and that was only a few occasions. And they shot the 1950s stuff largely. They shot most of the 1950s stuff first, and then in a separate bubble, if you like, we then shot the 1999 stuff. And so our director, Michael Grandage, gave the older counterparts maybe like 4 scenes that were rough cut, which had our counterparts in, so we could watch those. We obviously liaised with the makeup designer and the costume designer a lot in terms of finding parallels and a narrative there, whether that was useful or not. And we relied heavily on Michael, our director, who was the conduit. And then once, quite by accident, I bumped into Emma in the street in Brighton when we were filming. And that's the first time we physically met. I mean, she was there kind of work. It was like a crossover time. I was just stepping out for some lunch and we bumped into each other. And so it was an interesting thing, because ordinarily I'm sure we would have had much more in-person collaboration. But I watched a lot of Emma's work. I'd obviously seen The Crown, but I looked again and I watched interviews that she did, anything just to sort of, I don't know, see if there was something there that might be useful.
And how has it been to see the audience reaction as well, I guess, to finally sort of have it at least film festivals to...
Well, we've only ever had the screening at Toronto, and we were busy doing interviews, so we couldn't be. And in fact, that night, very lovely, we received an award from the Toronto International Film Festival, which was the very first, I believe, certainly for them, ensemble award for the cast. And so the ceremony for that award was the evening of our premiere. So we had to nip off to say thank you and then receive the award, but we got stuck in an elevator.
What? Okay, this is taking a...
Yeah, I kept thinking, God, we're not... Anyway, we did get out eventually. And we did get to the stage on time.
Thank
But
goodness.
so I haven't been in a space with an audience yet.
So LFF, you'll just be relieved to not be stuck in a lift and hopefully
sit down and watch the film with an audience.
So Saturday, that would be the first time.
Oh, well,
great.
enjoy it. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Gina. It's been
Thank
so
you.
lovely to chat to you.
Okay.
So if you want to find out more about this year's London Film Festival, head to the link in the description below. My thanks to everyone who's spoken to us, and of course to Tricia Tuttle particularly. You can listen to Backstage, the TV and film podcast from Sky News, every week, wherever you get your podcasts. Bye.